big crowd have turned out here. The rain's just driven everybody away for moments. They're underneath the stands trying to get some protection, but it has eased off a little. That's the city skyline, just really a matter of hundreds of metres away from this fantastic track. Colin Bond, well, the weather's put a damper on it, but it's certainly going to make it spectacular.
Well, it will. I mean, just interesting to see these cars come onto the circuit the first time and just see how really slippery it is.
Well, we're looking at Mickey Biasian's car. This is the first time we've seen the Ford Motor Company Sport Escort Cosworth in action. Now, what about this for a match-up first? He takes on Carlos Sainz, of course, the current world champion. Mickey Biasian, car 2, take on Carlos Sainz. Car 1, the rev state, a bell on the way. Here they go for the Telecom Australian Rally. Look at it, side by side. Go up through the gearbox now. Working the cars. Still nothing in this. They'll cross over shortly on the track. Oh, sideways. A little bit there for Sainz. He got off onto the tar, onto the dirt. Now, still nothing in it. Remember the inside track. We'll get to better on. There's the water we talked about. Ah, look at Sainz. Off the planet now. He goes back onto the brakes. He'll go down through the tunnel. Over the top goes Biasian. The little Ford's doing a great job, but this is now the Lancia Delta Integrale. Have a look at Sainz. Revs him up now. He gets back on the hard stuff. And now just back down to the finish. Carlos Sainz. 200 k's an hour as he hits the finish line. Well, there it is. The first match-up of the day, and what a beauty. Okay, look at this match-up coming up now. Didier Auriol. Now, the Frenchman, he will take on Ari Vatanen. Now, both of these drivers well known here in Australia.
They are, and I think this is going to be a fantastic match. You know, Ari's been here for a long time, and there's not much in between any of these cars, of course.
Toyota Castrol team with Auriol aboard. Of course, the Subaru Rally team with Ari Vatanen. Now, if Toyota can win this rally, they'll wrap up the Manufacturers' Championship, something they've never been able to do. We've had it off. Somebody's missed out there.
Somebody did miss out here. Ari Vatanen overshot the entrance gate, allowing Auriol to make a clean break, and in the process, he lost some 12 seconds.
And that's the look of the Toyota Celica as it heads its way down to the finish line. Well, they've won it pretty well because Vatanen, a rare mistake. Gee, we should don't see that happen too often. But here we go, 6 and 5. Again, another great match-up here. Francois Delacour. Now, they tell me this man is really, really spectacular in car 5. And, of course, Juha Kankkunen, the man that's had more success here than anywhere. Set for a match-up now. This rally brings something like $16 million into Perth. So the locals love to have it here. And, of course, this is right in the heart of the city. As you watch them blast up the bitumen now. They'll come onto the figure 8 racetrack any second. Here we go. Look at the angles they get. These guys on the brakes. Unbelievable. Kankkunen then got totally sideways and just threw it on. Look at this. You can't get much closer.
Well, Kankkunen did that perfectly on the inside. He had a nice tight run, powered on, and is heading towards the jump. At this stage is leading quite considerably, actually.
Big jump from Kankkunen, gets the Toyota cranked up in the air.
With superior driving skills, Kankkunen manages to give Delacour the slip, reaching speeds of up to 172 kilometres an hour, the fastest speed of the day.
Delacour really got caught out here. He's made up a fair bit of ground, though, as you can well see. But Kankkunen in the Toyota Celica, one of the favourites to take out this event. Remember, this is only the first best stage, and now we want Francois Delacour in the Ford Escort Cosworth. Pretty little car, and that's the difference as they hit the car now. Delacour, Kankkunen the winner. Well, Colin McRae now, he lines up against the wild man out of the West, Ross Duncan, with Fred Casentis. They've been around a long time. Colin McRae has Derek Ringer with him. He's in the Mitsubishi Lancer RSE against the Subaru Legacy 4-wheel drive turbo. Another very interesting pair-up. Oh, Dunco got off the line pretty well. Now the wild man, let's see him in action. The locals here will give him plenty as he comes around. That's him in the white car with the red-grey colours. Oh, look at McRae. McRae with that reverse switch angle that Colin Bob was talking about, and actually comes back and leads onto the circuit as Duncan on the inside gets loose. Oh, look at McRae. McRae just keeps the boot into it now.
Rain made Duncan's drive difficult, but with the home crowd urging him on, he managed to pull away from McRae.
I think this would be one that Ross would love to win, the first stage of the event, and he's doing a great job. He's been disadvantaged just at present. The rain's starting to come down and just makes the track that little bit slipperier for him, and the other cars, of course, didn't have this situation.
Oh, look at McRae comes spewing out onto the car now. It's going to be Duncan. Duncan winding it up. McRae certainly caught some back. Remember, McRae in a much better prepared car, a more tried and true car than Duncan. But Duncan pretty happy with that, I would think.
The top Group N competitor, South Australian schoolteacher Ed Ordinsky, had an unfair match. He was up against a full Group A car, the new S2 Audi Quattro, piloted by Sepp Heider. It was flying.
Get some air too as he comes down. This is a wonderful performance from Ed Ordinsky at the moment. Remember, he is in a Class N car. This is the Audi with Heider, Sepp Heider. Nice tidy line now. Belts it round the top of the circuit. Comes back onto the road first, as he would be expected to. But look at that. There's Ordinsky. Oh, that's a great run from him.
It is. I think actually Ed was leading there for a while. Lost it when he was coming up towards the tunnel. Just got a little bit sideways prior to the tunnel, but still a good time.
After the short Langley Park stage, the first real demanding section came when the drivers reached Flynn's, the third stage of the rally. At 32 kilometres, it's the longest of the day, and also one of the fastest. Cars reach speeds approaching 200 kilometres an hour on some of the straights. Through here, the two Toyotas of Didier Auriol and Ewan Kankinen recorded the fastest times. Subaru of young Scot Colin McRae was also pushing the pace. His teammate Ari Vartman, desperately trying to make up the 12 seconds he lost on the first stage, was also going hard and was fourth fastest. Lancia driver Carlos Sainz didn't get far. He crashed just 10 kilometres into the stage and was disappointingly out of the rally. The two Fords of Mickey Biasion and Francois Delacour were the next fastest, and already the top six was starting to define itself. The two Toyotas, the two Subarus, and the two Fords. The first Australian competitor, Ross Duncan, was coming to terms with his new car, a Mitsubishi Lancer, and was experiencing handling problems. Not surprising, considering he'd only done about 70 kilometres in the car beforehand. Also faring well was Canberra driver Neil Bates in his Toyota Celica, up into 8th place outright and pushing Duncan. The Group N battle for production cars was also being hotly contested. A four-way battle was developing between South Australian Ed Ordinsky and Japanese drivers Yoshio Fujimoto and Kiyoshi Inoue, all in Mitsubishi Lancers, and Rob Herridge in a Subaru Liberty. Late in the day, it was Ordinsky who started to edge ahead. He gained 35 seconds over his nearest rival on stage 7 with his deceptively fast and always smooth technique, and went into the Group N lead. The three-time winner of this event, the Finn Ewan Kankinen, was also edging ahead of his rivals in the outright category, setting the fastest times on every stage. Bit by bit, he extended his lead over his major rival, his teammate Didier Auriol, who eventually succumbed to mechanical problems on the 7th stage. 1 minute 17 behind Kankinen was the exciting Colin McRae. Then came Francois Delacour in the Ford, 2 minutes 19 behind. Ari Vartman was holding down 4th place. Italian driver Mickey Biasion was fifth with a 3-minute 10 deficit. Ross Dunkerton was in sixth, the best of the Australians, 4 minutes 10 down. With Neil Bates next best in seventh, 6 minutes 20 behind Kankinen. The afternoon was marred by an horrendous crash. New Zealand driver Possum Bourne went off on the same stage as Carlos Sainz, but with catastrophic consequences. His co-driver Roger Freeth was killed. The popular 40-year-old, a former motorcycle and motorcar racer, suffered massive chest injuries and was pronounced dead on arrival at Royal Perth Hospital. It was a sobering reminder of just how dangerous this exciting sport can sometimes be. Roger Freeth will be sadly missed. With unpleasant weather making spectating uncomfortable, organisers were no doubt disappointed with the roll-up at Langley Park. But those who did brave the night air were treated to an exciting spectacle. The concept of matching drivers and cars against not only the clock, but also each other on a short spectator stage is new to rallying, but it seems certain to catch on. Last night, the first pairing was that of Mickey Biasion in the Ford against Ari Vatanen in the Subaru. First across the line was the Italian ace in 1 minute 39, but the formidable Ari Vatanen was only 1 second behind. The next two were Ewa Kankinen in the Toyota and Francois Delacour in another Ford. After setting fastest or equal fastest times on every stage today, Kankinen was no doubt keen to maintain his superiority over the other drivers, if only for psychological reasons. When they crossed the finish line, it was Kankinen in the fastest time once again, 1 minute 38. Delacour was 1 second slower. Local hero Ross Dunkerton found himself up against Colin McRae, and it was the 25-year-old Scot who won out by 3 seconds.
He could go towards the bridge. He's got some real incentive. He wants time back off Ewa Kankinen, and he just taps the brakes to settle the car down, keep the nose down as he goes over, and Dunkerton underneath.
Two Group N competitors, Ed Ordinsky, the class leader, and Japan's Yoshio Fujimoto were next, but Fujimoto got it all wrong.
Should be very even.
At the end of the day, Ewa Kankinen leads by 1 minute 17 from Colin McRae. Francois Delacour is 2 minutes 20 behind the leader. Vatanen, 2 minutes 32. Biasion, 3 minutes 9. Dunkerton, 5 minutes 12. Bates, 6 minutes 34. Ordinsky, the Group N leader, is 6 minutes 45 with 8th outright, followed by Seth Haider and Kiyoshi Inoue.